My message couldn't be simpler. It's time to hunker down. It's time to cancel everything.
We're not seeing the poll book off by 30,000 votes. That's not the case.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it? Dead people voted and illegals voted. Okay. So that's my answer.
I've been in the news today. The first week of November, my daughter got married here in Austin. She had a small, mostly family, very private wedding. Sarah was beautiful. The wedding was beautiful and intimate. I want you to know that I regret that travel.
The bride looked beautiful.
Oh, that's really important, it sounds like. Not like things we have to go to.
That's wonderful. My goodness. Next time I go to somewhere really exotic, they hop on a plane. This guy, the mayor of Austin, what's his name? Oh, it's Austin Mayor Adler. Has this, he's admonished everybody like everybody else has about you can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, can't do that, can't do this. Skipped away for his daughter's wedding. They had a get-together, mostly family. Somehow they were forced onto a plane.
I've been in the news today. The first week of November, my daughter got married here in Austin. And like many other brides, she had to cancel her original plans in order to follow the rules. And instead...
My friend, who was just having his 50th birthday, was going to the French Laundry, and he'd been working for a while. It was his birthday. It's so interesting that they give us all this extra crap to process as if it's pertinent, as if it's evidence that they really needed to go more than we need to.
That's the worst part of it. That's the worst part of it is the justifications. You know,
she had a small, mostly family, very private wedding.
Mostly family. There was a really, really beautiful ice sculpture right in the middle of things. The dance floor was parquet, about 15 by 15.
Well, and, I mean...
We went with a crooner this time instead of having a... DJs are tacky, so we went with the crooner. And not only that, but you should have seen the centerpieces were just lovely. We let the people keep them afterwards. You could keep a centerpiece. Mm-hmm. And so never before have we seen such chicken cordon bleu. It was just primo. And I'm sorry, see you later. It's incredible how he regales us with just... I don't know if it's supposed to be drawing us in, so that we see, like, we're drawn into the Father of the Bride movies saying, "What? You know what? This is pulling at my heartstrings. He's only being a human." I mean, wow.
But I'm curious, too, who paid for the wedding, because typically don't the parents of the bride, handle most of it?
I think so.
So doesn't that mean that that's him who's putting the bill for the wedding? So it's not, he's like putting all this responsibility, like my daughter had a wedding, I just went, like, but I'd kind of like to know if he was a little more involved in the organization and the planning than that, because don't you think that if it's your kid who's getting married and you've told everyone else to cancel all their stuff, that you would be saying, like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this, but he's the way he's phrasing it. It's like he was just this random guest.
He was a
invited.
bit player in this. He was an extra. He was an asterisk in the event. Sure, he gave his daughter away and then cried, and he got the pictures of the cross-eating cake stuff.
Sarah was beautiful.
Sorry, by the way, that your dry cleaning store is out of business. You're being foreclosed upon, and your life is screwed, by the way. But just so you know, Sarah was beautiful. Hope you feel better about it.
Sorry you couldn't have a funeral for your mom. My daughter's wedding was just lovely. Like, wow.
What's even more beautiful is that this comes today. This is today. This is mixed in. Remember you told me when we were first dating, Alice, that I couldn't, when we were new, we'll say, I couldn't wrap in I love you with a criticism?
Yeah, I didn't want to be told, I love you, but...
Right, I love you, but do you mind, like, not leaving the spaghetti out or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I would infuse into my criticisms, and I love you to shield them from...
Yeah, because then it seems like you're using I love you as a tool to soften something out. Just spit it out.
Well, no, because if you spit it out, then it's a criticism, so you cloak it.
Yeah, but it's a criticism. You haven't disguised it. I can still see it.
So, yeah, but it doesn't hurt. It's not a criticism, no.
It does.
No, this is a, what's a painkiller called? This is an anesthetic. When you say I love you, I love you, but I wish you'd fill the car up with gas. That takes away the criticism. Then it's simply, it's a gesture of emotional.
I think you should
bonding with a tiny bit of metadata in there about the gas.
No, I think you should be mature enough to just say what you mean to say and not think you can trick me into thinking that you're not pissed off at me about something by putting "I love you" in front of it.
Okay, all single guys out there, don't believe any of this. Don't believe any of this. Honesty is not the best policy. Honesty is the last resort when it comes to our relationships. All right, so more and more he's wrapping the stuff up in an "I love you" to us, this mayor. Mm-hmm. He's saying, "I love you so much," but... And that's what the suppressor is, because he goes on to say, but you need to all stay in now forever, and I'll get underground, etc.
That was last week, the wedding, the beautiful wedding.
Right. I love you, but now get the hell into your basements.
The wedding was beautiful and intimate, and most importantly, she was happy. Afterwards, a small, mostly family group
went out for a walk along the river.
Traveled to Mexico.
Oh, well then. Okay.
I want you to know that I regret that travel.
That's what, you know what? I get the feeling that he's going to think about that block of time just with sheer regret. Cold regret. It seems like it. The wife, the bride was beautiful. It was a wonderful time.
I wouldn't travel now. I didn't over Thanksgiving, and I won't over Christmas. And no one should. Everyone should be avoiding non-essential travel now.
And he goes on to then, it's no longer "I love you," to tell you how Texas is locked down, and it's terrible. But of course, there is a spike in the coronavirus happening currently, and it's hitting some places more than others. It's the cases and hospitalizations are rising in Massachusetts. So far, the deaths haven't significantly on par with the original one. In other places, I think nationwide, from what I've seen from the graph, we're up near the worst of it where it was before.
Well, the cases look very high compared to what we had in the spring.
But I'm talking about deaths.
The deaths are rising. They're not near where they were in the spring.
That's not what the graphs I see tell me.
The deaths are not near where they were in the spring, in April and May, when New York was killing off all their nursing homes. It's just
I'm not calling you. I'm not saying that you're not correct. I'm just saying that all the graphs I see show the horrible thing here.
So the cases look much higher than they did in the spring, but that's because we were doing far, far less testing in the spring.
Right, but hospitalizations have increased nationwide.
Hospitalizations have increased from where they were. Deaths have increased from where they were over the summer. The deaths are not near where they were in the spring, and that's just not true. I mean, even like the states where it's pretty bad right now, like South Dakota, the deaths are very bad right now. They're not where the New York deaths were in the spring. What happened in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts in the spring, and I was just looking at these numbers recently because I was kind of curious. Like, we hear a lot about the border of Texas, we hear a lot about South Dakota, about some of these other places, and they're just not anywhere near where. I mean, the top 4 states for per capita deaths for COVID are still New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Connecticut. And nowhere else comes close. I mean, like, Texas right now is having a pretty bad problem. They're still at like 700 or 800 deaths per million population, and Massachusetts is at like 1,500. New York is at like 1,800. You know, it's really, and that's not necessarily due to any particular thing that Cuomo did or didn't do. The nursing home thing is bad. But
I understand, but the media will tell you that this is precisely about masks.
Right, but
precisely.
We have, we've learned a lot about how to keep people alive who do this. You notice you don't really hear about ventilators anymore. That's because we're not putting people on ventilators anymore because they actually weren't really helping that much for most people. And we've learned a lot about how to care for people who have COVID. There are still a lot of people dying. If you look at excess deaths compared to like an average year, they have been really up. They're still not as high as they were in wave 1. We had a bit of a bump in the summer, and we have not peaked yet for a wave 3, I would say. But But it's not going to get as high as it did in the spring in terms of per population deaths, and it will peak and it will go down again. And right now, it seems mostly to be tied to weather patterns. When the weather is in the extremes, when it's extremely hot in the south and people go inside, or when it's extremely cold in the north and people go inside, that's when you see the spikes happening, because it is mostly transmitted in enclosed indoor environments. That's just the reality. And, you can go back and forth on masks and no masks and this and that, but the numbers haven't all shaken out yet. And so far, it seems the best correlated thing is temperature days. Globally, interestingly, one of the best correlated things is how authoritarian your society is or isn't. So there are, people that try and, quantify how authoritarian a society is with like a number. So like China's pretty authoritarian, obviously, like Russia is sort of too. And then, when you graph that versus like COVID deaths, those countries do really well, because as it turns out, if you can track where all of your citizens are at all times, like China does, then you can control whether or not they spread virus to each other really well too. Like if you can lock them all in their apartments and ensure people don't leave, and
and to trace their every move with their iPhone that is against the law for them to leave behind, and you can sanction their lives.
You can control the virus spread pretty well.
Baby steps, Alice.
On the bright side, we don't live in a surveillance state, so there's that. Like
on the less bright side, President-elect Biden tells Jake Tapper he will ask all Americans to wear masks for the first 100 days after he takes office.
Speaking of Fauci, have you spoken with him yet? If so, have you asked him to stay on?
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. Tell me about the conversation, because he said what more needs to be done from his point of view.
Well, look, my chief of staff has worked with him in the last crisis. He's been talking to him all the time, Ron Klain. I talked to him today. We spoke today at 3 o'clock. My COVID team met with him. I asked him to stay on in the exact same role he's had for the past several presidents. And I asked him to be a chief medical advisor for me as well and be part of the COVID team. And so what has to be done is we have to make it clear to the American people that the vaccine is safe when it occurred, when that is determined. And number two, you have to make sure, as he points out, you don't have to close down the economy like a lot of folks are talking about now. If, in fact, you have clear guidance and you're able to say to businesses, okay, for example, bars and restaurants are going to close, but we're going to provide you the wherewithal to not lose your business like the House had passed.
Quite a bit.
And we're going to be able to reopen. We're going to be able to reopen in time and not to close down for long periods of time. We talked about masking. It is important that we, in fact, the president and the vice president, we set the pattern by wearing masks. But beyond that, where the federal government has authority, I'm going to issue a standing order that in federal buildings you have to be masked, and in transportation, interstate transportation, you must be masked in airplanes and buses, et cetera. And so it's a matter of, and I think my inclination, Jake, is on the first day I'm inaugurated to say I'm going to ask the public for 100 days to mask. Just 100 days to mask. Not forever, 100 days. And I think we'll see a significant reduction if we occur that, if that occurs with vaccinations and masking, to drive down the numbers considerably.
100 days.
I mean, it's convenient that fits the vaccine timeline really well. Like the first people are going to start getting the vaccine 2 weeks from now, and
right, and he's not going to,
and it's going to be the most vulnerable people first, which is where all the deaths are happening. So then, they'll go down, and people will be like, "Look, Biden became president, and magically everyone started wearing masks, and the deaths went
all
down."
Of these news agencies,
after Trump developed the vaccine, it's the same thing with the stock market. How people are like, "Oh, the stock market's going up because Biden's going to be president now." No, it's going up because there's a vaccine, so soon we'll be able to open businesses again. And by the way, it's not keeping the economy open when you say we're going to tell the bars to close but pay them to do it. That's still closing the economy.
Right. And a lot of those bars and restaurants all through the country, like we've mentioned, it's almost 40% of small businesses in Massachusetts are closed. A lot of those people have reneged on their leases, have broken their leases. A lot of those people are gone. They're just gone.
Oh,
so it's over already.
There is a mushroom cloud of a crisis about to break because all these people who've been putting off their mortgage payments and putting off their rent payments still owe that money. Right. That's going to come due. And the time where they can not pay is about to run out. And there's going to be a huge problem because they're still not employed. And the people that Biden hangs around with don't even realize that this crisis is happening because they're all upper middle class people whose jobs have not been impacted. You know, if you work in like biotech, like a lot of people around here in our area in Massachusetts do, you know, then you are golden. First of all, this is great for you. Your business is doing awesome. You know, but lots of these industries, people who work in office jobs have not been impacted that much. I saw a statistic early on in the pandemic, and I do not know how this is borne out, now, but it was something like 40% of people who make under $40,000 a year were out of work. You have to remember with the unemployment numbers that the unemployment numbers are primarily affecting low-income people right now. So the unemployment numbers amongst that population group are much, much higher than what's being reported for the population as a whole. These people are hurting really badly. There's been no stimulus for them since the spring. Their bills are all about to come due at once in a couple months, and Congress had better do something or we're going to have a really big problem. Right,
and if the Democrats win the Senate, then the amount of help and support you get from Congress, you know, the amount of your own taxpayer money you're allowed to hold on to will depend on how much money Lori Loughlin's daughter gets for her college relief, because everything will be on the table if progressives have a shot at this. So if you're a Republican down in Georgia, I would suggest you get out and vote. But another thing, that when Biden says, you know, we're not going to ask you people to close their businesses if we follow the guidelines, and that you won't need to do that. Well, that's not true, because he can do all he wants to with federal mandates and this and that, et cetera, and interstate travel and federal buildings, et cetera. But you've got tyrants in cities making harsh decisions, which are zero-sum decisions.
My message couldn't be simpler. It's time to hunker down. It's time to cancel everything. And if it isn't essential, don't do it. Don't meet up with others outside your household. Don't host a gathering. Don't attend a gathering.
Wow. If you're in LA, I don't know how you don't jump in the station wagon right now and hit the bleeping gas.
Cancel everything.
Cancel everything. It's that easy for him. No one he works with is going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Cancel everything.
And he got to go on his Cabo trip before. Or no, that's the Austin guy. Sorry.
It's a different hypocritical mayor. Sorry. I don't know what Garcetti's situation is. I could assume you're probably right.
But all these people, I mean, who was it the San Francisco mayor that also went to French Laundry?
Yes.
But they're all ridiculous. I don't know how many more times I can listen to these people say, you know, I'm really deeply sorry and I deeply regret my decision to go to an extremely swanky restaurant or a country club or to Cabo or to have a wedding for my daughter, without just like exploding. I can't listen to this anymore. While people are out of work and really, really suffering. I mean, do you have the guy that Matt Walsh tweeted that I sent you in Twitter?
Oh, I don't think I got it.
You can play it straight. There's no ad on it or anything. So there was this guy who's like a restaurant owner, and unfortunately I didn't have time to look up where he actually is. But he's being fined $1,000 a day right now, and this local news station came to like report outside his business, and he came out to talk to them. They apparently weren't going to talk to him. They were just going to come stand outside and report on him being there. There was also last night.
Said no. Mr. Vargas, is everything okay?
Okay. My government leaders have abandoned me.
Are you the owner?
$4 trillion of stimulus
money. It's important.
And gave it to who? Special interest groups and campaign donors. I'm Dave Morris. I own the place.
So what's going on?
What's going on? You know what's going on.
Tell me. You tell me.
Hey, we got a government that has taken the stimulus money, they gave it to special campaign donors, they gave it to special interests, they abandoned me, and they have put me in a position where I have to fight back, okay?
So do you feel that this is the right thing to do?
Absolutely. I feel everybody needs to stand up. Hey,
Michigan.
Listen, there was enough money to give every family in this country $20,000 to go home for 2 months. They chose to give it to special interests and campaign donors, the Kennedy Space Center, and they abandoned us.
I think it's the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. So maybe the Space Center got it too.
Yeah.
So you could have given me money. I'd gladly walk away for 60 days and let this virus settle down. I'm not going to do it alone. Okay?
Are you going to continue to violate the state's orders and stay open?
State order. This isn't an order. This is a conspiracy. This is a tyranny.
What do you want to tell other restaurant owners who...
Wake up. Stand up. This is America. Be free. I got patriots coming out supporting me.
So that guy, Dave Morse, the reporter there, I don't know if you saw the reporter tweeted that it was his, essentially he bragged about giving it right back to Dave Morse, pushing back on him. But that guy...
The guy's 100% right.
How
is he
so?
not? Dave Morse, the restaurant owner, is 100% right, isn't he? I mean, they could have chosen, Congress could have chosen, Nancy Pelosi could have chosen, instead of deciding to put every stupid thing into her COVID relief stimulus bill that she wanted to do, they could have focused, laser beam focused in on direct cash payments to people to get them to stay home and to keep the wheels turning, while they kept things shut down. But if you set up a situation where people are desperate, and people are absolutely desperate and are going to be more desperate very soon because their rent is going to be due their last 6 months of rent is going to be due very soon, all at once. And they have no way to pay it. They still probably don't have a job, especially in states like Massachusetts or Michigan or these places where they keep everything as closed as possible. And, when people are desperate, they're not going to take this stuff anymore.
Yes.
They're not just going to keep being closed. They're going to open the doors of the restaurant. They're going to just do what they're going to do. There was a crowd that gathered around a bar in New York last night.
Max.
Because people are starting to lose it with this. You can't... I tend to be in favor of keeping things open, but you can't shut everything down and then not help people. If you make people's jobs illegal, then you have to feed them some money to keep them going.
Yes. This is not...
It's not okay.
Right. You forced them to do this, and you're absolutely right. And we know now more about the virus. We know that the death rate of patients has gone down 80% from when it was at its height, because we now can use therapeutics and keep people alive. And also we're doing some wrong stuff in the early stages. We know who dies from this. My fellow fats don't do well. Some other comorbidities in really, really old people. So you would think that maybe the emphasis, instead of shutting this guy's bar and this guy's restaurant and...
cancel everything.
Instead of canceling everything... the best thing would be make sure, use all your resources and protect the people who are vulnerable. Because it's all about people who die, right?
I even heard a really great suggestion someone made. It was sort of in like a side conversation on Twitter. Some like public health people were talking about this, and they were saying like, well, maybe the thing to do is, instead of telling everyone to wear these cloth masks or surgical masks that are like sort of effective, but more effective at not spreading it to other people if you have it, maybe we should be telling people who are vulnerable or who are high risk to wear N95s now that we don't have the same shortages we had before. People who are vulnerable should be wearing masks that actually do protect them and not just other people. They should be wearing a mask that will absolutely keep out virus. Like, they should be wearing serious PPE that actually does keep them safe, because wearing a cloth mask doesn't do much. And like, maybe the focus should be less on telling healthy people to wear a mask on the off chance that maybe they're asymptomatic COVID positive, which seems like to be a relatively remote possibility for most people most of the time. And tell people who are likely to die if they get this to wear a freaking N95 mask, which will actually keep virus off of them. Like, that's seems like an easier and smarter plan, because it spreads the risk to the people who can do something about it.
Right. And so that's where we are. We're heading into this thing right now. We'll see more and more how it goes. In Massachusetts, they've just opened up another kind of spillover field hospital in Lowell. There's one in Lowell, one in Worcester currently. And it wasn't needed last time. Who knows if it'll be needed this time? I don't think so, but I don't know yet. And we'll see. I mean, my feeling, and if you go to the CDC website and say, "Do masks stop COVID?" It doesn't say yes anywhere. It says it's a layer of protection. So, and I'm sick of it. I talked to a guy today who said, these SOBs who don't wear their masks, they should be tried for murder and this and that. This is not Trump caused the virus, dead people, and then Trumpettes wouldn't wear masks, more dead people. I know that's an easy way to feel good about this thing, but that's not. If this comes around again with another president, you wouldn't have learned anything if you just blame this on Donald Trump. I want to move to, actually, I guess we'll stay right in Michigan, just to check in. This is, these hearings are going on for the election. Most of the states that really count at this point have certified their election counts. I am willing to sit here and say that Democrats stole some votes.
Sure.
But
why not?
Right. But this game is over. Okay? I'm not saying it's a fair game. And I know that there are Trump supporters out there. I was on with Todd Feinberg tonight, and listen to what I said. I should have grabbed the sound. I simply said, Todd had asked me, what I thought would happen with the Republican Party. Would they have a candidate next time who could win? And I said something like, if they find a candidate who's normal, like Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio, but who has some of the Trump traits, then maybe. And the phone rang, and this woman beat me to death. This caller. She said, "We don't want normal. Normal. You said normal. You said normal." She was angry as hell because the Trump supporters, and I supported Trump, and you supported Trump. Trump supporters are very angry about this election. I understand the opinion of the election, and I will always say that there are some great things that President Trump did. I'm glad I voted for him. It's this week. It's time to wrap it up, I would say, and begin his other venture. There's no reason to.
Also the same group of people that are really, really mad about the election are saying not to vote for the Republican senators in Georgia. And that I just literally don't understand that.
I have the answer for you.
Okay.
I have the answer for you on that. So. Who's the lawyer who's doing it? Linwood, and then the
Sidney Powell.
Sidney Powell. I can never get them right. Linwood has been a lifelong Democrat.
Has he really?
Yeah, he's been a supporter of Democrats, including Barack Obama. Oh. Of course, he's telling people sitting there behind the scenes, behind lines with Trump. He's telling people. I got this, by the way, from Eric Erickson. Oh. He's been there, and who would listen to them? You need to vote. Forget about Linwood and Sidney Powell. Forget about that stuff. Some person who we should not forget about is somebody who I may have a mild crush on, Alice. One, let me put it like this.
Okay.
1, I love you. 2, I may have a crush on another woman. Okay? Melissa Carone has been in Michigan. She worked for this this voting machine company,
Dominion.
whatever. Yes. And so Rudy Giuliani brought her in as a witness as to what's going on. And she is a gregarious, I would say, a pointed, passionate witness. And she is just my new favorite human being.
The poll book is completely off. Completely off.
Off by 30,000?
I'd say that poll book is off by over 100,000.
What?
That poll book? Why don't you look at the registered voters on there? How many registered voters are on there? Do you even know the answer to that?
No, I guess I'm trying to get to the bottom of this here.
Zero. There's 0.
She's a witness. He's the congressman. She's a witness.
She has less than perfect regard for for the whole process of asking the questions and her waiting till they're done asking and then her answering.
Oh no, he's lucky to be alive.
Guess how many? Wait, what about the turnout rate? 120%.
Let's let Representative Johnson ask his question, please.
Here. There is speculation that there may have been a cocktail involved at lunch. I don't know. I don't care. I love her.
Or if the drug mix just was off that day.
Option number one is that the poll book numbers are not going to match.
They don't.
The actual. Not by thousands and thousands of votes. That's not what we see right now.
Take a look again. Take a look again.
Option number two is that they essentially were filling in names of people who didn't vote.
Dead people, too?
So is that?
Let's let Representative Johnson ask his question, and then when he's done.
I thought that was his answer. Okay.
Well, poor Representative Johnson.
He's a Republican, by the way, too.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he's just trying to. They're trying to they don't want to look bad. So
right. They're trying to land the plane.
But they're trying to get her to make a specific allegation that they can They want to try and find something here that they can support, so they can say something happened, but they can't even figure out what she's trying to get at.
Getting berated by this woman.
We're not seeing the poll book off by 30,000 votes. That's not the case.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
I'm just saying the numbers are not off by 30,000 votes. So
I know what I saw.
That they're filling in.
I know what I saw, and I signed something saying that if I'm wrong, I can go to prison. Okay. Did you?
Okay,
are we saying that the poll book is either wildly off or that they are filling in names?
It's wildly off, and dead people voted, and illegals voted. Okay. So that's my answer.
Was she heavily influenced by Trump's first debate with Biden, or what? She is pushing him around. But by the way, this is an absolute audio replay of Alice Shattuck with Tom Shattuck at Michael Graham's wedding.
We're not seeing the poll book off by 30,000 votes. That's not the case.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
Totally.
No, that's not accurate. I believe
I love you, but that's what you sounded like.
I was pregnant when we went to Michael Graham's wedding.
What wedding was that then that I'm talking about?
I think the Serbian one we went to.
Okay, same place.
Different.
Copley Plaza Hotel. Look for surveillance footage, and you will see what I mean.
The poll book is completely off.
She's a wonderful, wonderful person. All right. So we've talked again and again and again and again and again and again about how this media, how they think. The fact checkers. Daniel Dale, I believe, was quietly euthanized in the woods somewhere. They don't need them anymore. It's remarkable now how you hear they're exposing exactly their thought process when it comes to Republicans or Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. With Joe Biden, obviously, Trump, and Republicans, everything they say, of course, is going to be a lie because they're just liars. We know they're bad people, so they're going to lie. But listen to Chris Cuomo, not a smart person, but his thought process, and he says way too much here, and it's wonderful.
As someone covering the White House for a long time now, I took a lot of comfort in something pretty small.
He starts by saying, as someone covering the White House for a long time now, before he was at CNN, I think he was at ABC, whatever. He's been covering the White House for a long time. Now, but something he just saw at the White House gave him comfort.
Like the size of a pinky toe bone. When Biden hurt his foot, I appreciated it. Why? Because I'm a sadist? No.
Yes, and you're an idiot. Because I'm a sadist. Stick with the script, Chris. Here we go.
Because we just got the straight truth about it.
There you go.
Well, so when it turns out that...
Straight truth? No. It was a straight truth. He hurt his foot playing with the German Shepherd. Most 86-year-old feeble men, have a wrestle with the dog, usually. He got us the straight truth. He wrestled with the dog and hurt his foot. It's not an old thing. No, he was doing something very youthful and virile.
No lie.
Nope.
No deny. Just, he was out playing with his dog. He sprained his foot or broke some bone in his foot.
Yep, that's gospel. Sounds good to me. Thank you, Miss Bedingfield. No further questions. Thank you. I appreciate that, TJ Ducklow. I appreciate Jen Psaki. Thank you. It was a dog, sprained his foot. That's all I need to know. All right, that's all I need to know. Those aren't the droids I'm looking for.
Probably have to wear a walking boot for weeks. So why is that a big deal for me? Because there was no BS. There was no blocking us from the reason that Trump was rushed to a hospital.
No blocking us from the reason. Incredible.
Isn't this the same one Andrea Mitchell complained about, that they didn't get the information right away?
Yes, exactly. The same one. Exactly.
So maybe she should check notes with.
Yes, even in Robbie Mook,
Chris.
When Hillary Clinton had to leave the 9/11 ceremony in 2016, and then took a dinger off the sidewalk. The media said, "Where is she?" to Robbie Mook. Why did she suddenly have to leave? And he said, "Oh no, she just had to go somewhere. It's hot out, whatever." And they said, "Okay." And then they got reports from somebody that she had fallen into the van. Robbie Mook said, "No. There's no truth to that. I wish you'd stop saying it." And they said, "Okay, thank you. Leave that. That was no BS. Thanks, Mr. Mook." Somebody got to, the Fox guy got to footage, and then we found out, wow, they had been lied to. But they still don't call it a lie.
And there's total revisionist history about that, too. I forget who it was, but some media person during the campaign, I think it was like when Trump had COVID, was saying, like, remember when the Republicans, like, made such a huge deal about Hillary Clinton having pneumonia during the campaign? Like, that was a totally normal thing. Can you believe they abused that? And the problem with it was that the campaign was lying and saying there was absolutely nothing wrong, even though we could all tell there was something really wrong, and it was an honesty issue, not a health issue. It was if they're lying about this, how much are they lying about her health?
Of course. Well, the whole time they lied about her health when she was having coughing fits all over the place.
And this is why, though, it's so funny to me that they still literally can't see this. This is why they then turn around and give us a ticker tape count of like how many times Trump has lied. No one cares. It's not that we don't know that Trump's a liar. Trump absolutely lies constantly. But we don't care because the rest of them all lie all the time too. And we've been told that that's like perfectly fine and normal and everything's cool. So like, why should we then care when Trump lies?
And as a matter of fact, going by the weight and currency that comes with certain untruths, Trump's going to tell you he has the best this, best that, best this, best that, biggest crowd. It's the best tax cuts, the best everything, 1,000, the best people, the best. It's always the best, and that's fine. None of those is a you can keep your doctor lie.
Oh yeah.
None of those is a lie that totally screws you over. It's flim flam. I'll take flim flam, which is why a lot of people don't care what he's on. It's like having President James Carville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go invest in a company because Trump tells me to.
Right.
Tells me it's the best thing ever. That's for sure. I'm definitely not going to do that because I do not trust him. But, I mean, he hasn't lied. He gave us a list of judges he was going to put in, and he has sure stuck to that. I'm pretty pleased with that. It's things like that.
He packed the court, Alice.
Fugazi doctors with these absurd lauding statements about Biden being superhuman, the strongest pinky toe in history. Just the truth.
The truth. Jesus. We heard a lot about how the truth is formulated from the Jeff Zucker audio this week from James O'Keefe. Maybe we'll grab some of that for this weekend, perhaps. But I want to switch it up, Alice. We're heading into the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have fun, so I've found some content here.
Okay.
That will be lost on most people who listen. If you're under 60, a lot of this may not mean anything to you, but it should. If you're a smart person who knows a little about culture before you were born. So. The kid from 1D in the dress, who's that?
Harry Styles.
Harry Styles will not be referenced in this.
Okay.
These are a couple of just funny little anecdotes that I found on the internet, and I thought they'd be fun and cool. People think I'm a lot older than I am. I'm 40 and 7.
Okay.
People have always thought I'm old just because they don't make people who move like me anymore. I was like a crappy prototype. And I always had a high forehead. Never got bald, but I had a high forehead. So I was always balding in my teens and 20s and 30s until everybody else was really bald, and then they finally threw in the towel and said, you know what, you were right, you weren't going bald. Now, of course, it doesn't matter anymore because now I'm, mostly dead. But here we go. This is Michael Caine. You know the Graham Norton show in England?
Mm-hmm.
This is Michael Caine, great English, I think he's English, he's British anyway, great English actor, talking about the time he ran into, guess who, Alice? If you get this, I'll give you how much money do we have in the bank? I'll write you a check for $1 million if you get this. Guess who he talks to? This happens in the late 60s.
In the late 60s. Mm-hmm. And he is excited about having met someone?
Having met somebody? Yes, exactly.
How recent? He had just met them recently in the late 60s?
He met them in the late 60s. Okay. Well, this thing's only a couple years old, but he had met the person in the late 60s. I'll give you a hint. Well, if you get this right, I will do right now 10 push-ups on camera.
Okay. Okay, what's my hint?
Your hint is the person he met was short and a writer. 10 push-ups, Alice, in front of people. I can even do them shirtless. Can you think of any short writers? Oh.
I don't really know how tall most writers are.
They're all short.
So that doesn't really narrow it down.
Go right ahead.
It's just a writer. Ian Fleming. I don't know.
Incorrect. John Wayne. So he met John Wayne.
Is John Wayne a writer?
No. He met the actor John Wayne in the...
So did you lie to me?
I love you.
My hint was a lie.
I couldn't do the push-ups, Alice. I couldn't do the push-ups. So he met John Wayne in the lobby of, I think, the Beverly Hills Hotel. Listen to this. Listen to regale us with this nugget.
Shirley brought me to Hollywood to do Gambit, but her thing she was doing overran, and I was a week on my own in Hollywood, and I'd never been to America. And I was a week on my own, and they put me in a luxurious suite in the Beverly Hills Hotel, and then nobody ever talked to me or phoned to me. I didn't know anybody. I was just in this luxury hotel, I'm ordering caviar and champagne, all on my own for a week. And in the daytime, I used to go down to the lobby and sit in the corner and see if I could see any stars. Yeah, and one day, a helicopter landed and all the flowers went up and the beds outside, up in the air, and in walked John Wayne in a complete cowboy hat. Just like that, look. Just like that. And he was registering in the Beverly Hills Hotel, and he looked up and he saw me in the corner. And he said to me, "What's your name, kid?" I said, "Michael Caine." He said, "You in that movie, Alfie?" I said, "Yes, I saw that." He said, "You're going to be a star, kid." I said, "Oh, thank you, sir." And he said, "But let me give you some advice." He said, "Talk low, talk slow, and don't say too effing much." And I had on suede shoes. And he said to me, "Have you got them?" Yeah. He said, never wear suede shoes, kid." So I said, "What?" He said, "Never wear suede shoes." So I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I just told you, you're going to be a star, kid." He said, "And you're going to be in a gent's toilet taking a pee." He said, "And the guy next to you is going to be taking a pee. He's going to look and he's going, 'Michael Caine.'"
And he looks over and right on his suede shoes. How did you like that piece of comedy,
These are
Alice?
the hazards that women don't have to think about, I guess.
Exactly. Oh, sorry. Am I? Okay. Exactly. All right. Ready for another one?
Okay. Let's
Going
go.
into the weekend. Or we can take a second. We can take a right turn and mention Walter Williams, who just died at 84, who's a great economist. You know what? We're going to do Walter Williams this summer, but I'll give you a hint of what we're going to play. Walter Williams on the minimum wage. He's an economist. He was a really prominent black economist, professor. He used to fill in for Rush Limbaugh. He was quite a talent, a hell of a guy, huge personality. This is him on the minimum wage.
A lot of people say the minimum wage law is an anti-poverty device. It reduces poverty. Well, that doesn't even pass the smell test. I mean, because if it were an anti-poverty device, rather than our spending all these millions and billions of dollars in foreign aid, we just tell Bangladesh and Haiti, you could be rich like we are, just have a higher minimum wage. That's just utter nonsense. And then also, the empirical evidence on the minimum wage law, in 1948, the unemployment rate among black teenagers was 9.4%. 1948. The unemployment rate among white teenagers was like 10.2.
So it's lower.
It was lower.
Lower for blacks than whites.
Yeah, and the labor force participation rates for black teenagers were greater than white teenagers. Matter of fact, it was 106%. And so You say, well, how come in 1948? Was there less discrimination? Is that why? Or were blacks more in 1948 higher skilled than whites? No, it was the minimum wage law. And then also the extent of coverage of the minimum wage law.
All right, so we will get more Walter Williams, the great Walter Williams, this Sunday or Saturday, depending on what's going on. But it's time for another joke, Alice. Another Hollywood classic joke. This one's from before you were born.
Okay.
This is 1980 and I believe 4. The great actor. Since we're coming up on It's a Wonderful Lifetime, let's see if this camera survives
Oh, I
this.
love him.
Yes. This is a great James Stewart on a show called The Funniest Joke You Ever Heard, 1980 and 4, telling the greatest joke he'd ever heard.
A man and his wife sitting having breakfast. Very nice couple. Margaret said to John, John, if I would die, would you get married right away after my death? But John said, well, that's the darndest thing. Here's a beautiful morning, and we're sitting here having a nice breakfast together, and you bring up this terrible thing about death. I'm not going to talk to you. That's a terrible thing to do, Margaret. And I forget about it. But she didn't forget about it, and she brought the same thing up that night. And he did the same thing. And then for about 3 days, she said, now, if I would die, would you get married? Finally, he gave up, and he said, one night, she said, if I would die, would you get married again? He said, yes, I would. No, is that settled? She said, would you sell the house? He said, no, I wouldn't sell the house. She said, would you sell our bed? He said, no, I wouldn't. It's our bed. I don't see any reason why. No, I wouldn't sell the bed. She said, well, you certainly wouldn't let her touch my golf clubs. And he said, no, she's left-handed.
Come on, Alice. You got to admit that's funny. You get it?
I get it.
Pretty good, huh?
That's a good one.
All right, one more. This one I love. So this is the guys. This is in the 90s. This is the guys from Monty Python. Graham Chapman was dead by that time. But Eric Idle is there, and John Cleese, and Terry Gilliam, and Michael Palin, and a couple of more were there. And just Terry Gross, I guess. And Eric Idle starts telling the story of when the guys from Monty Python, when they were first making it big, that a German production company invited them over to Germany to do some skits. And this is how that story goes.
Well, the Germans came to us and they said, look, we don't have a sense of humor. It's true. But we understand you do. Will you come to Germany and write a comedy show for us? And they said, we'll take you on a writing recce. And nobody's ever heard of a writing recce. You know, it's like 10 days holiday in Bavaria. So we said, sure, we'll go. And we went to the airport and we flew to Munich, and they met us at the airport with huge steins of beer. And we were going there to write sketches for Germany, to do comedy sketches. And they took us from the airport straight to Dachau. This is a true story. And as we tried to get to Dachau, everybody kept denying they knew where it was. We'd stop and say, where's the camp? And they said, what camp? You know, I've not heard of this. And finally we got there, and it was just closing. And as we drove up, they said, no, you cannot come in. And Graham said, tell them we're Jewish. God bless him, and they let us in.
Now, I believe that is a true story, Alice, and I choose to believe it's true. I believe Graham Chapman was a Jewish fellow, by the way. So that's Monty Python's fault if you don't like the joke. I think it's all in good fun. Alice? No, sorry. Go ahead. You have a story to tell us. Your own story. Here's our last and final one. You've heard from Michael Caine, Jimmy Stewart, Eric Idle, now Alice Shattuck.
This isn't a funny story. I mean, maybe you'll think it's funny. I don't know, but
the people just laughed at a Dachau joke, Alice.
I don't know. Did they laugh?
I didn't.
I'm uncomfortable.
The people from that thing from the audience did.
Whoa.
How's my joke?
So this is just something that happened to me that I wanted to tell you because
Is this going to work, Alice, with the loud?
Yes, he just wants my phone. So that's.
Wants your phone?
Because I'm a good parent. I'm just going to give it to him.
And
he can do what he wants with it. And then, so I just wanted to tell you the story because this is something real that happened to me today that really impacted my day today.
You're going to cry, aren't you?
I did cry in the car on the way home from the grocery store today because, and I'll tell you about why I did. Because I was, so the grocery store was out of aluminum foil, as I told you. So I went to the Dollar Tree to see if they had aluminum foil, and they did. And it was the most packed Dollar Tree on planet Earth. And as I'm waiting in the line...
I mean, usually we go to Tiffany's. So
it was...
Tree of Crump and Low is closed, so...
Do they have aluminum foil
yes,
there? I don't know.
Gold,
I've never been to one. So as I'm in line at the Dollar Tree... there's a lot of people waiting, and it's super busy. And the lady who is being checked out is very elderly and not moving quickly, and she's paying with a check. And it was moving slowly, and you could tell the cashier was like a little bit impatient, but she was holding it together, and she was offering to help and giving her all the information to fill out her check and everything for like $23 or something. So the lady's getting all her stuff together, and she's walking with a cane, and she gets to the end of writing the check, and she takes her things, and then before she goes, she turns back to the cashier and hands her cash. I didn't see how much cash, but she hands her some bills and says, "Can you take this? And if somebody comes through the line who's needy or is having trouble paying, can you use this to pay for their things that they're trying to buy?" And then she gathers up her stuff, her $23 of stuff from the Dollar Tree that she spent on herself, and has her cane that she's walking with and goes out of the door from the Dollar Tree.
That's lovely.
So I guess that's a reminder that, you can always find something to spare for other people,
That's very nice, Alice. Very nice.
So that's what happened to me today that got me in the crying. I cry at everything. I cry at all the Hallmark movies and stuff. So
well, that's beautiful, Alice.
That happened to me today, and I was pretty moved by it. So I hope it makes you think about the holidays and stuff.
Now, and I'm not trying to be shallow here at all, Alice, and I love you, right?
Did I pretend my card got declined as I was buying my aluminum foil? No. No.
Well, it's a nice story anyway. It was very nice. And by the way, that Monty Python thing, the joke, the butt of the joke was the Germans. It's the Germans.
Yeah,
right?
They're the bad people.
Yes. Germans. There's an off-color joke that they said it doesn't matter if selling it doesn't matter. Alice, tell them what they need to know.
You can find the Burn Barrel Podcast on Twitter at Burn Barrel Pod, Facebook.com/Burn Barrel Podcast, on Parler at Burn Barrel Podcast. You can send us an email at burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com. You can go check out our YouTube channel, Tom Shattuck's Burn Barrel. You can like our videos, comment. You can subscribe to our channel and get notified when new videos come out. We look forward to hearing from you.
C'est la vie.